Okay, thanks, John. All right, thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody to the February 22nd River Falls Common Council meeting. At this time, I'd ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Bierstead?
Here.
Carroll?
Here.
Downey?
Here.
Morissette?
Here.
Miller? Here. Odine? Here. Plunkett?
Here.
Okay. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from the February 8th, 2022 workshop and regular meeting.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Plunkett, second by Bierstead. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, move on to the bills with Mr. Downing.
Mr. Council President and Council, I move for the approval of the bills in the amount of $6,470,247.41, subject to the comptroller.
Second.
First by Downing, second by Bierstead. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're at the public comments part of this evening. John, do we have anybody who's calling in for a public comment, or are we just what we have on the screen?
We don't have anybody online.
Okay. Anybody in the audience have a public comment? Seeing none, we're going to move on.
Mr. Council President?
Yes.
I have one.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sean, I missed you. Go ahead, Mr. Downing.
I would just like to thank the city for the privilege of allowing me to represent the City of River Falls at the Municipal League Conference on Affordable Housing on Monday, and the numerous chances I've had, about 20 total now, representing us for affordable housing in our state at the nonpartisan Municipal League conferences. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Sorry about that. Okay, now we're going to have a stormwater permitting for 2021. I think Senior Civil Engineer Zach Regner is going to make a presentation. We'll turn it over to Zach.
Mr. Council President, did you want to close the council meeting and open a public hearing?
My notes say that the presentation will be done by Zach, and then once that's done, then we move into.
That'd be fine too.
Okay. Yeah, but we can go to public hearing first if that's what we want to do.
That's up to you. I think we can do a presentation and it'll be
Okay.
time. That'll
Okay.
give a couple more minutes for people to show up if they wanted to come
Sure.
to the public hearing.
Go ahead, Zach.
All right, thank you, Council. This will be a quick presentation. Many of you have probably seen it or know of it from the past. We have our annual MS4 report that we have to submit to the DNR each spring, and that should have been in your packet if you looked over the whole thing or have any questions. But I'm just going to give a couple brief highlights from our past year of 2021 in the stormwater world. So some highlights, we were able to do a couple things more than we were in 2020 with COVID, one of them being our big Public Works Awareness Week event with the city second graders. It's largely a Public Works event hosted and put together by Mike Stifter, but we have a stormwater component to that with our salt truck, but that was good to get back out to the schools this year. We also did a big stormwater reconstruction project, which is also a reason why, if you saw or noticed a larger budget expenditure this year, that was largely due to this channel project. It was give or take a couple $100,000, right around $200,000. So that was why our budget was a little higher, but the channel was significantly eroding, as the lower left image shows, and it's even hard to tell on that screen, but we had some real big swimming pools that would essentially form from washouts. So we used a new material, Fleximat, to armor the channel. That's shown in the middle picture on the bottom there. And it looks like concrete, but it's actually got some gaps in there, so that will grow up in the spring that was done in the fall. So when the springtime comes, there's seed underneath there. It'll grow up and you basically won't even tell there's concrete under there, but it'll armor it from washing out. So that was a good project and a success to date so far. A couple other things that we were able to do, our public works crew and I think some of the mechanics and maybe a utility staff member too, were able to attend our snowplow simulator training through the Minnesota DOT actually. So we were able to get a few guys trained up on a snowplow without endangering any mailboxes in the city. So that was, I think, good. I wasn't there, but maybe Mike could know, but I heard good things from the staff. A couple other updates throughout last year. These things went through you guys, so you are probably familiar with them, but we had a couple ordinance and stormwater standard changes just to update things a little bit more. We added total phosphorus modeling to develop developer requirements. We now require as-built grading surveys prior to issuing building permits for developments, and require 2% minimum slopes on swales for all soil types. There used to be, we allowed down to 1% for some soil types. So all those changes were approved through you guys last year, and we think they'll be great for our future going forward in the stormwater world. And that's it. And a note on this picture, this is a RC mower that we demoed last year for mowing ponds that are kind of wet, and basically our equipment would get stuck. So that was kind of a cool piece of equipment. We do not buy it, but they're quite expensive, but we may rent it in the future for some tricky ponds and steep banks. So that was kind of a cool piece there too. And that's all I have for you.
Okay, thank you, Josh, or Zach, I'm sorry. And then at this time, then we'll close the council meeting and open up a public hearing to hear any comments on the resolution of authorizing consent to the 2021 annual stormwater discharge plan. Anybody in the audience have any questions? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, reopen the council meeting, and I'll accept the motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve the resolution authorizing the content of the 2021 annual report to discharge water.
Second.
First by Bierstedt, second by Caro. Any other discussion from the council? Questions for staff? Alyssa, you doing good there? Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on. All right, the next item is the request for a Class B liquor and a Class B beer license for Tarnation's Tavern LLC, doing business as Tarnation Tavern. This requires a public hearing, so at this time I'll close the council meeting and open up a public hearing. Does anybody in the audience want to talk to this topic? Nope. All right, we'll close the public hearing, reopen the council meeting, and at this time I'd accept a motion.
Mr. Council President, I move that we grant a combination Class B liquor and Class B beer license for Tarnation Tavern LLC, DBA Tarnation Tavern, 128 North Main Street.
Second.
First by Downing, second by Bierstedt. I will ask the agent to come forward and ask him my questions.
Good evening.
Evening, Mr. Barr. How are you?
I'm well, you?
Good. Mr. Barr, I think I've told you before, I've asked the same three questions of every agent. So I'll ask them to you, get you on the record. Do you understand the role of an agent?
I do.
Do you currently possess a responsible servers certificate?
I do.
And do you understand that if an alcohol-related violation occurs, even if you're not in the facility, that is your responsibility?
Yes, I do.
All right. That's all I have. Does anybody else have any questions? Mr. Plunkett.
I have my standard questions as well, and those revolve around over-serving by bars and taverns in the city. And what steps are you going to make sure that your establishment does not overserve customers?
I think the responsible server certificate or course lays out some great guidelines along those lines of recognizing and not overserving customers. I have experience owning a bar in Stillwater with my partner and I, and we've done a lot of training with those folks as well in order to recognize people that may have be approaching the point of being overserved. And it's really a training situation. All of our servers will be trained in what to recognize in the personality of the person, the number of drinks, and the time of frame, food, all those things go into determining where the person is at with their drinking. So I hope that's answers your question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? All right, thank you, Mr. Barr.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, we'll go back into close the council meeting and open up a public hearing for the ordinance amending traffic control map, adding a stop sign at Hamilton Drive and Washington Street, and expanding Westside Elementary School zone to 296 Sylla Street. This is a first reading. Anybody in the audience want to talk about this? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and reopen the council meeting. And I don't have to do a motion or anything because that was just a first reading, right? Correct. All right, next we'll close the council meeting and open a public hearing for Ordinance 2022-02, Ordinance amending official parking control map, creating a no parking zone at 403 North 8th Street. This is also a first reading. Anybody in the audience like to speak to this? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing, reopen the council meeting, and we will go on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda, number 6, is acknowledgement of the following minutes. The Housing Authority from January 12th of 22, Library Board from January 10th, 22, Park and Rec Advisory Board from January 19th of 22, Utility Advisory Board from January 18th of 22, Plan Commission from December 7th of 21, Historic Preservation Commission meeting of 12/8/21, and the West Central Wisconsin Biosolids Facilities, November 18th, December 1st, December 16th of 21, and January 20th. That's that on that. The next resolution would be affirming the city's intent to apply for a DNR dam removal grant. Passing this resolution is prerequisite to apply for a $1 million dam grant from the Wisconsin DNR. Number 8 is a resolution proclaiming World Migratory Bird Day. Adopting this resolution proclaims May 14th as World Migratory Bird Day. Number 9 is a resolution approving Data Privacy Act. Adopting this resolution would approve the city's data privacy policy. Number 10 is a letter approving, a resolution approving a letter of agreement with Kinney Corridor Collaborative for Powell Falls Hydro Dam decommissioning and removal. Adopting this resolution would approve the letter of agreement with KCC. Does anybody want to pull anything?
Mr. Council President,
Mr. Downing.
I'd like to pull number 10.
Downing pulls 10. Anyone else?
Mr. President, I'd like to move approval of consent agenda items 6A through G and 7, 8, and 9.
Okay.
Second.
Ms. Odine first, Mr. Bierstead second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll come back then to Mr. Downing. You pulled number 10.
Resolution approving letter of agreement with KCC for Powell Falls Hydro Dam commissioning and removal. Question for our city administrator. It talks about the policy and framework of the Memorandum of Understanding for the Kinney Corridor Collaborative. However, not all council members were here when the Memorandum of Understanding was made. We need to make sure we are being up to date with all council members and transparent. So I would request a copy of the Memorandum of Understanding be sent out to all council members. Can you do that?
Yes.
Thank you. With that, I move approval for number 10.
Second.
Mr. Downing had a first. Mr. Bierstead had a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving right along. Next, we have reports. The third and fourth quarter strategic plan report. I see there's no presentation here. Does the council have any questions on this topic? You guys are making this easy on me tonight.
So I do have one question.
Mr. Downing, go ahead.
So regarding the quarter strategic plan report, and this is just for some consistency, Mr. Simpson, when we do our reports to the council, that includes all the Kinney Corridor fundraising and whatnot. Could you explain a little bit of the pattern and how you've been doing it and how it will be done in the future?
Yeah, so there has been infrequent and irregular reporting on the KCC. The agreement in the LOA that we just agreed to goes to a quarterly presentation, or that may be a written report rather than an appearance, but I'd expect that they're going to appear in addition to their written report. So that'll include the updates on fundraising and other commitments within the agreements.
All right. Those commitments are very important. Thank you, Scott.
Anyone else? All right, next we'll move on to the comptroller's report with Ms. Odine.
Thank you. The comptroller's report for January 2022. General fund revenues through the end of January were $1,214,671.05 and include the January property tax settlement and state streets aid. Expenditures for the same period were $752,871.38. Net revenues over expenditures as of January 31st, 2022 were $461,799.67.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I'm going to recess into closed session per Wisconsin State Statute 19.851E for the following purposes: deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conducting other specific public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, to wit, properties near Man Valley Corporate Park, and deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting any other specific public business whenever competitive or for bargaining reasons require a closed session, to wit, sale of property in Man Valley Corporate Park. I think this requires a roll call vote. Oh, Mr. Simpson has a question or clarification.
No, as a statement for the public that I don't expect that the council will reconvene to open session to act on these items. We will reconvene to open session to adjourn.
To adjourn, okay.
So with the council's permission, then we would end the streaming broadcast at the time you go into closed session with the anticipation there'll be no public action by the council
Okay.
coming out of closed session.
All right, thank you for the clarification. Ms. White, could we have a roll call, please?
Need a motion first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Move to adjourn.
No, nice try.
I move that we do closed session.
Downing
Second.
and Odine for second. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Plunkett.
Aye.
Odine.
Aye.
Carroll.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Morissette.
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Bierstead.
We are in closed session.